guys, Hawkeye007 here. Today we're going to be looking at using the pump in Into the Flames. So I'm heading up to the training house by Station 4 at the moment, and we're going to learn how to use, how to properly use the pump on the engines and whatnot, so you guys can realistically roleplay using the pump correctly. If you guys do learn something out of this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment as well if you'd like to see something specific. There's a few things I can do on here that yeah, like managing crashes like that. There's a few things I can show you guys from my own real life training as well, in terms of like different things to do. Yeah, once we get down to the smokehouse, we'll continue on with everything. Alright, so we're here at Station 4 with their training house. As you can see, the captain of this fire station has decided to set the training house on fire. So this is what we're going to be working with today. So essentially, basically, when you get onto a job, you want to set your lines first. You want to park up in a place that allows you to, well, get a line in straight away. There is a certain length that these hoses have, so you want to be as close but as safe distance away from the incident as possible. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you want to run a line that you can start attacking with straight away. So we'll use a discharge 2 off the back, the small combination, because this allows us to use a fan and also jet. This is also typically the nozzle that we use for basically everything that we do in the real department. Now keep in mind I am from Australia, so our practices will differ to American and even other Australian states. But and for that record, I'm in Western Australia, so practices will differ. However, I'm going off my own personal training. So this kind of nozzle is the nozzle that we use. We don't really use a foam tip. We don't really use a couple of the other ones, but you'll mainly see this one used quite a lot. The other kinds for very specific purposes, but I'm not too sure on those, so we'll just play it safe. So that's discharge 2. So pump panel, what we want to do coming here is go to tank to pump, open that all the way. It takes one click, it'll open your valve all the way. The next one you want to do is find the discharge that you've opened, open that all the way as well. So as you can see, our water discharge matches our revs, so we want to increase our revs to between 120 and 180. I can do 160 here, and that will allow me to get water on the end of this. As you can see, we can fan or jet. Now, along with that, what are you going to run out of very, very quickly? Especially if you've got maybe 2 lines going in, what are you going to run out of very quickly? And you can already see that we're down to 3/4, so that works surprisingly well. Alright, we need to get a supply line on straight away as well, so that we don't have to rely on the engine's tank. We can keep that full while also still suppressing the fire. So while you've got that set up and your first guy is attacking a fire with a hose line, what you want to do is set up a supply line. Now, how convenient is that? It's a hydrant right here. However, if you do not have a hydrant close proximity to you, you can set up for a tanker to just cycle between the hydrant, cycle between the nearest hydrant and the engine. In order to do this, though, your tanker must not be the one that is hooking to the engine. Your engine has to hook to the tanker, that way you can do this. Ready? So we want our front intake, we just hit J, we can lay it on the ground straight from the engine. Can't do this with the you can do it with the tanker, but only if your engine's moving. It's because if you do this, you can't move this engine. So if you were the tanker hooking into the engine, you wouldn't be able. You would have to put the hose away each time. Whereas if you just do this, you can just run. You can just disconnect, drop it on the ground straight away, move your tanker, fill your tanker, bring your tanker back, and then basically hook straight back in. Right, just so much easier than having to just run hoses all the time. So with that, we need our supply line, so we're going to run it into this hydrant like so. That's going to set that up. Good to do that straight away if the hydrant's close by. Realistically, if you've got a hydrant across the road, you want to close the road and run your hose across, but we all know that AI in this game doesn't really like road closures that much. Also, if you don't have a hydrant in the area, use a tanker. Use a tanker if you can. Now, this truck here does run out quick, but if you're quick enough at this, you won't. So we don't have to change anything that much. So with the hydrant on, it's not supplying the engine just yet because we have to swap two things here. A tank fill, open that all the way. Now we'll get to this in a second. Actually, hang on. So what's that close? So water intake. So we want this between 180 and... So we want the water intake between 120 and 180 as well. Our tank pump we're going to close, and now this discharge is going to be coming straight off the hydrant. We can... I mean, really you can run the revs down because the revs are no longer affecting what's coming out of the hose. Oh yeah, you will notice too, you won't be able to mess around with these when you first spawn your trucks. When you first spawn them, you will have a red bar up here saying pump overridden or something, or like it'll be a red bar here. Just hit easy pumping, it'll say this pump override activated. Just hit that, so then you can do everything here. So now that we've got that set, we are now filling... Oh, hang on. We're now filling the truck, as you can see here. We are now back to wall it up. The other thing you can do is you can... Your tank fuel, you can keep opening that, and then all you have to do to keep it between the thing is just close your discharge. Just a bit, right? So... yeah. So... yeah, just close your discharge of it to keep it between 120 and 180. Now I think... alright, cool. So if you're running off... as long as your number is... hang on, I'm going to have to test something here really quick. Pump panel, let's just open our discharge one more to above 180. Now I think you can still spray, you just can't move. I know you can move a bit. Alright. There's something there where you couldn't move for a bit because it was like high pressure or whatnot. I can't remember. But yeah, that's how you... so now that we're running straight from the hydrant, keeping the tank full, and we're also running this out here. I need to... fix this, so... here we go. Oh, just don't forget your yep, these guys will come out too. So this guy's using discharge 5, no? Discharge 4, here we go. Discharge 4, I'm going to open this. So what we need is this between... now, I'm not using that one, so I can open discharge 4 up like so. So while he's in there doing that, I'm going to... I don't know when they added the AI. I'm going to close this off like so, and now, okay, well, I assume that is done. What I'm now going to do Just turn emergencies off so I don't get a call. We are also going to shut down everything here. Tank fuel closed. Now I get to pack up the supply line. Cool. That is us done here. Right. Thanks, Station 4. We're now out of here. We're now going to a lake to practice our drafting, because that is also an important thing to do, and I will show you a really good way of setting this up as well. Alright, meet you down at the lake. Hey team, how are we going? So, we're down here at the lake. I use this spot a lot for training as well. If you guys want to hop in a game with me, just join the Discord, let me know how I can set something up for us. So, we need to draft. Now basically what drafting is getting the truck to draw water up from a water source without having, so essentially your truck is going to suck water from this lake or any other water source that you got, dams included, tanks, whatnot. You're essentially going to fill the truck tank by sucking water in. Now, generally speaking, pumps cannot pump in reverse. But basically, if the pump could pump in reverse, you just reverse the direction, right? Simple. Rather than pump out, you're going to pump in. Pumps can't do that. So, we've had to figure out another way where we could make a negative pressure to suck water in. And we've done that. So, what you want is an intake line. Now, this is going to change color to black when we drop it in here. Like so. It's going to drop into black. So that's all we need to do there. Now, let me just empty this tank. So essentially you don't want this happening on the fireground. You never want your tank to empty. Particularly in Western Australia here, our trucks have what's called crew protection. So basically there's sprayers on the roof and sides of our trucks that if need be and there's water in the tank, you can get water to spray the entire truck down in the case of fire overrunning your truck. However, you need to have water in your tank, so running out of water is not a great start. So now we've run out of water here, so we're going to bring our pump back to idle. Tank to pump we're going to close off, and our deluge we're going to close off. We don't want any deliveries or anything open right now. We are empty now, so what we're going to do is pull our primer, open our primer, hold it open. I realized that in order to do the primer you have to set your pump correctly, so we're going to bring this up to 300 revs. We're going to go to our primer, open our primer. As you can see, blue bar on the left is going up. It'll do this random thing. You could be here for ages waiting for it to prime. You could be here for a little bit waiting for it to prime. This was reasonably quick. Sometimes it'll hang out the top for a bit, and then when you know it's ready is when the green box above that blue line pops up. I've been sat here for, what, a few minutes trying to freaking get this to prime, and it's not. There we go. Alright. Open and discharge one click, tank fill one click. We have, tank fill all the way. So we're dragging water, discharge close. So now the water intake is coming up at 300. I don't know what the unit is. So we can hold that there. And essentially, we can let that go, because it is, a supply line here is full, and it is being drafted. Now, this is good to have set up when you've got a big job on. You can do this with a tanker, you can do this with an engine. Personal preference would be running an engine, just because you've got a tanker. If you have a tanker, use that as a on-site water source. if you need to go and grab water elsewhere and you don't have a hydrant nearby, then use an engine to set up your suction, and you can fill the tanker out of it. You can... I know there's a hydrant here, but we're not using that today. We are using this. So what I'm going to do very quickly is in instructor mode. Whoops, done it again. In instructor mode, I'm going to spawn in an engine. No idea what this is. You can see that this engine is not full. I'm going to bring this engine over here. So we need to fill this engine. So now this time, remember last time how I said when you're doing a supply line to an engine and a tanker, if you need to run that tanker back and forth, you need to hook the engine into the tanker so you can just drop your hoses. Well, in this case, you need to hook this drafting engine into this engine here. So it works the other way because this engine here is not going to be moving. So this connection here, not an intake, definitely not an intake. You need a supply line, that's an intake too. Damn it, I need a large discharge, which I think I can only grab off this side. Yep, large discharge 5. We're going to run that around here. And do we have a connection on the front? Yeah, we do. Front intake here is going to have this. So now that this tank is full, this one is always going to pump in. This pump panel, our large discharge 5, we're going to open all the way. So now we've got 300. So now the water that we're sucking up is going to straight into this truck. However, we need to open our tank fill here first. Oh, see here, spawning in a new pump. I need to turn the easy pumping off if you want to be able to use the controls. So now this truck here is being filled from this truck. And this shouldn't take as long as what this one did, because theoretically this one is also, so the water that's in this tank is going into this truck and it's also sucking into this truck at the same time. So this should fill reasonably quickly. Okay, what are we at? We're full on this one. So what we need to do here is now close our tank fill. If you got multiple players, that should be a lot easier. This one here, we're going to close our discharge 5. So now this tank can refill. And then basically this front intake here, I'm going to come back over here. Just going to drop it here. And now this truck is now free to drive off with a full tank. And that's how you can effectively use drafting without the hydrant. So, well, yeah, if you don't have a hydrant available, the nearest one to you is dead. You can use drafting. But so yeah, basically now that this is set up, you don't have to touch this at all. The only thing you'll have to touch is your supply line on this side. If you're going to set this up as your filling point for the other vehicles, you don't have to touch the primer again. Everything's all completely set up and to just keep bringing trucks in and refilling them. I should mention at this point that while you can leave this engine here as a drafting point, so as your filling point, what you do need to be mindful of is the fuel. Now with this engine running and you've got revs up for your suction, it will use fuel. So you do have to keep mindful of that. Once you get down, it's pretty well, if it gets down low enough, you should be able to fill your last truck and then swap the engine out. You will have to pack up your hoses and stuff as normal, but you can set another engine up reasonably quickly doing the same way and then go and send this one for refueling. But yeah, so you can cycle engines out that just need refueling, but other than that, you'll generally get a majority of your work done on one engine. So yeah, that's all I had to add on to this. I was editing back and realized I should have mentioned this, but yeah, so better to do it now. But yeah, we'll continue on with the video. With that, we'll now get on to another pumping thing. So now we're back here. Captain's decided he's going to set the place on fire again. Now, what happens if you need to use multiple hoses? Like multiple attack lines. So, you have to then employ a little bit of maths to keep your pressures right and to make sure that both your hoses are being used effectively without running out of water. So, let's set this up as we did before. So let's use 2 attack lines off the back. So we've got a combination of discharge 2. And we have a combination of discharge 3. So I need to run both of these at the same pressure while also being able to keep this tank full. So let's run our supply line. So pretending that they've gone in and they're fighting these fires now, this fire now with the hoses they're using you're going to lose water twice the speed. So you need to do this part a little quicker than if you were just using one hose. So that's on. Now we just need to open our tank to fill. Now it's all well and good opening up to the 880 as we've done there. However, that means that our pressures will be wrong. So, remembering that these hose reels use 120 to 180. Whoops, he's pumping off. We need to ensure that this here, because our discharge is going to work off fractions of this, basically. So, if it takes 10... was it discharge 2 and 3? So yeah, basically 10% of 880 is going to be 88. So this will open up 10 times to get this. So we need to keep this pressure between 120 and 180. So right now we're at 176, which isn't too bad. Now we open up our next pressure here. That is perfect right there. We both open it up to 176, which is our pressure, and we're continuing the water intake as well. But adjusting this is going to adjust how much water we put out. We've now down to 158. Now if you want to add in a third hose line, so for example discharge 4, you would then have to go through again. So now all 3 of these are running at 158, so we can open our tank fill more. Now you can see that our total is come up to what are we? Still 176. So our total, okay, that doesn't change anything because we're coming straight off the pump. So essentially, let's close our tank fill. We're running 0 and we open our tank pump all the way. Our water discharge at all of this is going to be 10. So we need to increase these. Now when you might think that this is fine here because it's 138, it's between the two, these are still down at 46. So what you have to do here is now open these ones, oops, all the way. Now you're going to notice the problem, this orange bar here, because we're overheating the pump. So yep, we're still overheating the pump, so what we want to do is drag these down. Oh, hang on, let's activate pump full real quick. So we're going to close all these off. So if our water discharge is more than the revs, that's when we're going to start having issues. So we need to make sure that we keep our water discharge below the revs. because essentially you're putting more water out than you can pump, and it's just like, yeah, it's overheating your pump. So if we can keep this down, so what's that? So 55. So we bring this back to 55. We'll open this one up to 55. This is always going to be above, so we need to keep this down below. So both of those can go up. So this is where you want your math. So what is it, like 150 times 2 is 300. So there you go. So that's 150 times 2 is 300. Now if you want to add discharge 2 in for 150, you've got to go to 450 on this. This only goes to 400. So you have to find the balance here. So that's 120. There you go. We've got our balance here, which is 120 each side, and it's 40 below the 400. And now basically all these hoses are going to work. Right, so there's discharge 2, discharge 3, and when I grab it, discharge 4. So you do have to employ a bit of math there to get your pressures worked out. Make sure you're not overheating the pump, which is when you're pumping more than your pump can handle. But that's when you're on tank to pump. So what you want to do now is if we close that, we use this, you can see that we've now just gone ahead and given way more than we need. Let me drop this back to idle. So now it's also good to have a supply line there, because yeah, you can now use 3 hoses easily from here. And basically your water intake pressure is going to change depending on the color of the cap of the hydrant, and you can see what your caps are by going into your pumping guide and fire hydrants. So somehow our blue cap is giving us 880. You can also see, whoops, wrong one. You can also see your operating pressures on here. So your standard hose line 120, 180, deck gun 100 and whatnot. Your monitors, ladders 100, high rise connections 300, hose splitter 120 to 184, one hose line connected, 240 to 360 for 2 hose lines connected. So basically, essentially that part that is mentioned there, where it's 120 to 180 for 1 hose line and 240 to 360 for 2 hose lines, is basically the same as we've done here. Essentially this is acting as our splitter connection, this engine, as we're using 2 discharges off 1 water source. So we've had to split that to go between 3 hoses. Now what you can do here, let me just chuck these back. I've never used this in this game. We don't even use them that much in real life, but we're going to use a hose splitter quickly with a hose line, because I have not done this IRL. So that hose line there is going to be running at 176 still. So discharge 4 I need to close, discharge 3 I'm going to close, discharge 2 we're going to keep open. Now discharge 3, the hose splitter here, essentially we're going to run that out and drop it like so. We're going to grab some tools here, hose bundle. Now this should, what's connection have you got? Okay, cool, smooth ball. So I'm going to grab another one, the hose bundles, like so. So now we've got 3 coming off 1, right? So we got 3 coming off 2. So one of them is straight away. So if I want to run water to both of those hose lines from discharge 3, I need to open this up to 240. That works. That works really well, actually. So now both of these hoses will have water straight away. Yep, there's one. Because you know that 264 as what it is, divided by 2 is 132. Do some math there. 264, yeah, 132. So that's above 120. If you give it another one, it's going to be... What is that? Discharge 3, so 352. I'm not doing that off the top of my head. It's going to be 176 on each. Yeah, 176 on each, so that's going to be about right. Yeah, 176 actually. Oops. So basically these two hoses now are running on the same pressure as this one at 176 each, which I believe is still what 2's on. Yeah, 176 is 352 is 176 each. Yep, so all three of these hoses are running on the same pressure. Cool. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this little lesson in running your pumps without the easy mode. So this is easy pumping off. We're running this completely as engineers, using maths for your operating pressures, and yeah, basically doing this realistically. Hopefully this video has helped you guys in understanding how the pumps work, how to effectively use the pumps as well. Yeah, it's been a fun video to make, and if you guys need any explanations on anything else, I can also assist with that in this game. Now we'll just wait for AI to deal with this. So while AI's doing this for me, we're going to basically finish up, sign off. You're going to want pressure off discharge 4, huh? That's all good. Let me just close this one real quick and I'll just open this one. Go for it, buddy. Right. So, well, that was quick. Discharge 4 I'm going to close now so I'm not wasting water. Discharge 2. Tank fill. Close it as well. So I'm not using any water at all. I should probably mention that I keep the parts in about me closing the discharges and turning off the tank to pump and tank fill, because I have done it in the past where I've forgotten to do this, and I'm trying to figure out where pressure is going that I don't know. However, what's good about this game is that you can physically see which discharge handles are open, and just remember that every discharge you open and every pass by the tank that you make, whether it's tank fill or tank 2 pump, just make sure you close them when you're done. That's all I have. So, yeah, like I said, this was a fun video to make. Hopefully you guys understood this. This works for every engine. Now, different engines are going to have different connections. Yes, I understand that. I find that engine 2 is probably the one I like the best. In different engines, you're going to have different pump pressures and different... you're going to have different numbers across all of them. So it's better to just sit in the game and use all the engines just to get an understanding of how each one of them works and the different things you can do with them. Sometimes, well, this truck in particular only has one large discharge, which is 5 and 6. Actually, it might have 2. No, I've only got 5. So discharge 6, I've got no idea what discharge 6 is. Is that on the front? Oh yes it is, small discharge off the front. There it is, that little one right here. So, yeah, cool. Alright, so that one does have 6. So discharge 5 is the only large discharge, so just keep in mind if you need to relay, like relay hoses or different things you might need a different engine depending on the capabilities. So if you have so for instance, like how we set up before with the drafting, this truck can only fill one truck at a time because of this one large discharge. However, if you have engine 3, which I think has 2, yeah, engine 3 has 2 large discharges, so you can fill two other engines up with this truck if you're drafting. So this one's probably a good one to have because you can do 2 at a time. The only thing you would have to, you wouldn't really have to worry about much, yeah. So it's got a supply line on the arse end of it and on the front. Yep, cool. So you can draft and fill 2 trucks with this engine. Yeah, like I said, if you guys need any clarification or something, or you want to jump in on a training session where we can go through different engines and different things that we can use in game for realism, then just join the Discord, let me know, and we can set something up. But yeah, I just did this just in the hopes that someone might want to actually use the pump operations properly, and yeah, give some insight into how this all works and different things you can do. Without further ado, I shall catch you guys in the next video. Ta-ta.